not quite 24 hours, right? About 22 hours late.
Almost.
Yeah.
I take
Kind of.
full blame. I a bit of a
Uh,
weekend.
I know it's weird though when you have like a 3-day weekend. Don't you think that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like more people on Monday when everybody's been off and whatnot. Have you been affected by the shutdown, the government shutdown?
Not myself, no. Lots of my
Yeah,
neighbors are
yeah.
employed by the government. In fact, our favorite ones who babysit for us sometimes. So
Okay,
she's furloughed, and he had been laid off during the Doge cuts in January. So I
gotcha.
feel bad for them.
Yeah, and he hasn't been
Nice
brought back
people.
yet.
No, no,
Mm.
no. Yeah.
It's so nuts. And I was curious what
Yeah.
the traffic was like in DC right now because I live in Fayetteville.
Yeah.
Traffic is insane. It's been insane like for
Oh,
a week because most of military's off and all of the civilian employees are off and everything. It's kind of a
no.
pain to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, I've
But
basically not left my house. I've been like holed up working since Thursday.
gotcha. Yeah.
Except to go to the Palestinian American Bar Association dinner on Saturday,
Oh, that's
which is
nice.
nice. Yeah, the
Yeah.
first annual. They
Gotcha.
just formed it, so with Noria Erakat was the keynote speaker.
Okay. Yeah,
Really good,
nice. I
yeah.
know. So lots of big news in the Middle East. Obviously, in Gaza, we
Yeah.
have ceasefire, which for right now is holding lots of interesting stuff going on there. I don't know if you saw this. There was a clip. So Donald Trump traveled to Israel, and from Israel, he then went to Cairo for this summit. I'll be honest with you, I don't actually know what's going on in Cairo. Do you?
No, I don't.
I know Netanyahu is not coming. But something is being signed, I suppose, right? So I'm guessing they had representatives from Israel too.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't know the details of that. But all the
Right.
pro-Israel people got their talking points apparently, and it's why aren't you celebrating?
Why
If you
aren't you?
thought it was a
Yeah.
genocide, why aren't you happy now?
Right. Right. Yeah.
Well, because like hundreds of thousands of people we don't know are dead. Tens of thousands of kids at least are left amputated
Right.
and or traumatized. Well, I guess anyone who's an amputee is probably traumatized as well. And because Israel always breaks its ceasefire agreements, and they've basically said
Correct.
they plan to as soon as they get the hostages back. And there's
Correct.
no real plan to end the occupation of the West Bank and the blockade of Gaza. So that's why we're not celebrating. It's not because we just hate Jews.
Right. Yeah, I know. I was like thinking about it. I was, it's kind of like this your serial killer neighbor just went on like this mad spree, murdering people all around you for 2 years and then was like, okay, I think I'm going to stop killing people for right now."
Yeah. Yeah.
And then these people are like, "Why aren't you happy about that?"
I know.
What the hell?
It's so dumb. It's like,
Yeah.
I mean, I know you don't love Holocaust analogies, but like nobody would be like, why aren't you celebrating the end of the Holocaust? It's so obvious
Right.
why people wouldn't celebrate that. But also in this case, like Israel has not been conquered by anybody, so it's most likely just going to continue doing what it was doing
Right.
before.
I think in a lot of these people's minds, because they do constantly use that World War II reference, right? And so World War II ended, the Holocaust ended, and then when you had the troops coming home to the US, you did have these massive celebrations of American troops
Yeah.
coming home, parades, things like that, people dancing in the street. So I think in their brains, and again, this is why I hate these World War II
Yeah.
analogies because this isn't World War II. This is not what happened
Yeah.
here. In fact, they are in no way, shape, or form similar whatsoever.
Yeah.
Um, and so, but yeah, so I think for a lot of these people, that's what they kind of expected. Everyone would be so happy that this is finally happened and whatnot. And it's like, actually, no, there is no definitive victory. Number one, Hamas was not definitively defeated. They just
No.
weren't. Okay. So Israel doesn't have the victory that they wanted, and I do believe that there is a sizable number of Israelis who that's going to be a real problem for them, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Plus, they want the land. Okay,
Of
they
course.
they don't have anything
That's
actually to show for their war efforts, right?
yeah.
Other than their international reputation is in ruins. It's just absolutely it's gone. Um,
Yeah.
you've got Israelis that can't even travel to large parts of Europe anymore. Nobody wants them. Nobody wants to be around them. People are sick of this. They think it's cruel. They have reputational damage as far as like even just the regular citizenry goes. Is
Yeah.
I don't know. It's going to take decades probably to kind of
Yeah, if
undo that.
ever. The New York
Right.
Times actually had an article entitled something like, when will Israel be able to repair its image in the eyes of Americans or something like that yesterday.
Right.
And the author only like interviewed pro-Israel people on that like various I think there were a couple like, who were like liberal Zionists maybe, but it was all, they
Mhm.
didn't interview any Palestinians or anything. And they're all like, a couple said never, but most of them think that they'll be able to, like once this is over, people will forget and they'll be, able to do their propaganda efforts. And I don't think so. I think people have seen the veil is off, especially among the younger generations, and they're not going to
Right.
forget. This is, the image they had of Israel, it's like the good guy 2 years ago, has been forever erased and replaced with
Right.
something else. And people aren't that silly, that they're just going to forget
Right.
in
It's not,
a
yeah,
few
it
years.
wasn't just like one or two things. It's that the actual kind of feeling or mood around Israel has shifted, right? And so it's one
Yeah.
thing if you do a handful of bad things, people will forget that, right? But when you actually change kind of the mood about you, like what people, when I think of
Yeah.
Israel now, I immediately think of Gaza, like immediately.
Yeah.
And removing that is going to be significantly harder, right?
It's Gaza, it's and the way they've dehumanized Arabs and
Yeah.
Palestinians, the way they've bragged about the influence they have, that
Yeah.
like not lots of people are never going to forget, and
Yeah.
never going to
No.
forgive this kind of interference in our politics. It was so that I often on these
Mhm.
sorts of articles, I'll read like the top 50 comments, top ranked, to get a sense of like
Mhm.
what, sentiment is, with understanding their bots and stuff like that. But the New York Times like approves comments, so it's a little bit more selective. The top ones I read, as far down as I got, were all like, it's never going to repair its relationship. This is
Yeah.
no, there. I didn't see one in like the top 50 or 100 that I skimmed,
Yeah.
saying that there was a shot. So
I don't see it happening, and for good reason, right? I haven't
yeah,
seen any eagerness or willingness to do any kind of self reflection as to
no,
why people feel this way. I also think something that's really coming, and I do think they're a little bit smarter about this than they have been about other things. The next wave that is coming is going to be from the right, right? And
yeah,
it is this Republican right leaning voters are extremely bothered by the amount of control and influence that Israel clearly has on our politicians,
yeah,
right? Um, yes, I think Democrats are, but I think they're much more concerned about the human rights violations and things like that. Not that people on the right aren't as concerned, but sadly, they have shown an apathy towards a lot of that stuff. But
some people,
some
not
have,
everybody.
yeah.
Yeah,
Not everybody. There have been some strong voices, but I do think in general, and to a certain extent, I do understand it because it's like we can't solve all the world's problems, right? But
yeah,
the problem is that we are part of this problem. We're the ones funding it. We're the ones supplying all the bombs. They control our Congress. Republican voters haven't really gotten anything that they've asked for, that they wanted.
yeah,
Um, and yet you've got Donald Trump in the Knesset today giving a speech today, um, saying, bragging about how much influence that Miriam and Sheldon Adelson had and how they got everything they wanted from their billions of dollars that they have pumped into Republican politicians in the last 10, 15 years. Really wild stuff.
yeah.
People always say, well, Trump says this to bring people's attention to it. um it's all part of that, like, 40 5D chess, whatever. It's I'm so sick
What do you think could
of
have been
this.
done like, so you've thought more, or you've spent more time with campaign finance stuff than I have. Because Miriam and Sheldon Adelson were dual citizens, right? So
Mhm.
how could you prevent this kind of thing from happening?
I mean, in the wake of Citizens United. Obviously, we
Yeah,
have to have but another thing that could be applied is that you cannot give money to American politicians unless you live in the US full time. That would
that's a.
permanently exclude Miriam Adelson. you know?
But it wouldn't exclude people like Bill Ackman or,
No,
who
it
obviously
wouldn't.
aren't as significant donors, but yeah, I don't know how you create laws or rules because like FARA, Israel having to register under FARA, APAC having to register. I mean,
Mhm.
that's like a doable goal. I don't know if it will ever happen, but it's like something you can articulate. But how do you prevent people who are just, and I guess this is the dual loyalty thing, but
Right.
who are Americans, but who just um, care a lot about this foreign country? I don't know how to solve that problem.
Well, you start your own campaign to where you make people aware of the fact that
Yeah.
these are the people who are spending all of this money, and these are the reasons why. And I do think that that has started to happen, and people have become very, very, very aware of the Bill Ackmans of the world, of the Paul Singers, of the Jeff Yasses, of the reasons why these people do these things. And it's obviously it's not to benefit America.
Yeah.
Bill Ackman. Has shown that he doesn't care about America one way or the other. It's whatever party he will back, whatever party he thinks is best serving the interests of Israel,
Yeah.
and that's how they all are. But
Yeah.
like
And I
if
guess
somebody,
you can argue that people have all kinds of, they donate to all kinds of campaigns that aren't in the interests of the American people, or, they're just to,
Mhm,
for instance, to benefit wealthy people or this,
mhm.
this group or that group. So yeah, it's very hard to distinguish, but
But something else to really point out though is that the reason that Miriam Adelson gets everything that she wants is because both parties are owned by the Zionist entity, right?
yeah,
Donald Trump, it's very easy for him to fulfill these campaign promises to Miriam Adelson because the Democrats won't give him any real pushback on any of
right.
it. Right.
Yep.
And so that's an important thing to keep in mind. It's easy to like say, oh, it's just because she bought all of this. It's like, actually, no, it's easy to deliver on these promises because both parties are totally owned by this lobby. Right.
Yeah. And that's
So,
why we didn't really see any daylight between the policies of Joe Biden and Donald
mhm,
Trump on this matter, even though, like, I guess you could say Trump is a little bit more crass in his
right.
language when he talks about these issues. But I mean, Joe Biden, you
Right.
could tell like any empathy feigned for the Palestinians was just that. It was feigned. Um, I actually went to a conference a couple of years ago at the Federalist Society about one of the panels was about campaign finance, and there was actually a really strong right-leaning contingent that was pissed off about Citizens United and admitted they had changed their
Mhm.
minds because of what had happened since that was decided in, now I forgot what,
Oh,
2010 or something like that. And it was actually Josh Hawley was on the panel talk, or no, sorry, it was Josh Hawley's wife was talking about it.
interesting.
Um,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, maybe maybe the Supreme Court will narrow that decision somehow, but
I highly
I doubt
doubt
it.
it. The problem
Yeah.
with Citizens United also is that it's the one that gets all of the attention. But in my opinion, the the dam really broke with McCutcheon, which was a separate case, but it was decided. I believe it was the following year after, but it kind of gets rolled into. And McCutcheon lifted the limits on total amounts that wealthy donors were allowed to
Yeah.
spend in federal transactions. So prior to that ruling, total wealthy donors could only give it was, I believe it was $40,000 total to all of the federal campaigns. And then like
Yeah.
$70,000 to the party. So it was like 123,000 altogether, right? So maybe it was 50,000. I forget what it was. But anyways, that lifted that limit. And so now these people are allowed to donate basically an unlimited amount of money
Yeah.
to each candidate because they can give through their joint fundraising committees, which I've explained elsewhere, and I won't bore everybody with that right now, but just really opens the door for people like Tom Cotton, people like Steve Scalise to collect $200,000-$300,000 checks in their joint fundraising committee account that you guys don't even know about. But that is how they buy these candidates who are not in swing districts. So
Right.
Citizens United is very important when you're talking about swing elections. So there's a handful of Senate seats. There's about 50 seats in the House that are swing, and then of course the presidential election. That Citizens United is extremely important there. But for all of the other seats, it's McCutcheon that came in and really just took it all out and made it to where big money rules. And it has just been devastating since 2015 was the first year that came. 2016 would have been the first cycle. By the time 2018 rolled around, it's just it was just done. So it's a little
and it's
depressing.
not like Israel had no influence before. I mean, it had quite a bit of influence for decades, but I think this insanity,
right,
like sheer insanity. I think that with stricter limitations on that kind of thing, that this would not have happened, like the massacre of Gaza.
I don't know.
I don't think our elected officials would be able to sustain the electoral pressure if there was less. It was like less money and whatever. I'm not sure. But.
I don't know. Post October 7th, I've just never really seen kind of like a mask drop the way that it happened. It's like all bets were off. Everything went out. Everything we said we stood for, they just threw it in the trash. Yeah. Like it was just disposable. It went to the recycling bin, and we see it getting recycled now because, of course, what's his name, Rubio, who for whatever reason people have been glazing nonstop. I have got some theories on that, but he came out today and was wagging his finger at Xi Jinping about supposed persecution of the Church of Zion in some region in China. That Xi Jinping had locked up some Christians and whatnot. And it's just like, are you being serious right now? Is this for real? How can you say this with a straight face? Right? And
it's like, is it the Free Press that's now doing this thing, like obsessing about the Christians in Nigeria that are supposedly being persecuted by the Muslims, or is it someone else, some other pro-Israel person? This is the new thing.
All of
like,
them.
oh no, it's Bill Maher. Bill Maher keeps doing that. Apparently, I stopped watching this show 2 years ago.
As if Bill Maher has ever given two tiny shits about Christians in Nigeria.
Christians in Nigeria. I know. It's. Yeah.
No, if you go and look at any of these people's pages on X, you just search their pages for Nigeria. They have never once, not one single time, I promise you, never once ever talked about the terrible, tragic things that are happening to these people in Nigeria if they can't weaponize it against people who are advocating for Palestinian human rights.
Right.
Right.
Because the whole point there, they'd use it to say, see, this is about the fact that Israel is Jewish. Why aren't you talking about the Christians in Nigeria? Like, in case anyone needs it explained, it's because, we're not funding that. And we don't provide diplomatic cover, and we're not erasing the First Amendment for it, and all those things.
And also, that they're getting their talking points, obviously, from the pro-Israel lobby, because they never talk about the Armenian Christians who are being persecuted by the Azerbaijani. Why? Because Israel and Azerbaijan have a relationship, and Israel provides all of the weaponry that Azerbaijan uses against Armenian Christians. So that's how we know that they're all just full of shit, right?
Yeah.
And so, Nigeria, again, I've looked into that. It's very complex. Number one, more Muslims have been killed by these Muslims than Christians. Number two, most of this is actually deeply rooted tribal conflicts that go back long before. I mean, these go back into 200-300 years. Some of these conflicts that rage out between these people. I'm not an expert. I don't know how to solve this. I obviously think that murdering innocents is bad, clearly. But if my government isn't funding it, there's not a whole lot I can do or can protest against, right?
Yeah.
So,
And
Um,
I mean, we talked a little bit about this new California law, which I keep looking at, and it's just increasingly disturbing. That is, it creates like an anti-Semitism envoy to oversee all the public schools, make sure there's no anti-Semitism, and it uses the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism. So Newsom signed it into law on October 7th. I think I said last time, I believe he did that on purpose so that people would be
yeah,
less likely to scream about it because it's like, oh, you can't do that on October 7th. He let it sit on his desk for a while before signing it. So I think
of
that was
course he did.
strategic. Yeah. And it's basically going to create a chilling effect so that teachers and students are terrified to talk about this subject at all. It's shocking. And, that goes to your point too about the Democrats. Like, this is a Democrat run state
Hmm.
and they passed this law. So
Yeah.
there's no safe haven from this influence.
I mean, it is. I do feel like we're actually going to see it pick up in steam. I know it seems like there's no way that it is, but I assure you, I actually do think.
You mean
Yes.
the censorship?
Yeah, I think you're about to see it kind of full court press on the right, especially. I have
Yeah.
seen, number one, we've seen a change in the algorithm on X, definitely. I know you haven't
Yeah.
been on that much. I have seen it. It's been really intense. They have rolled out
Mm.
huge new bot farms. Um,
Yeah.
Something I've been noticing again, and we've kind of tracked this before. There's been a handful of accounts that have really done really good work on this. I'm sorry that I don't know, I can't cite them right now. Talking about a lot of these like Zionist accounts, they will pose, or these bot accounts, they'll style them as like white nationalists,
Mhm.
right? Or like really kind of even white supremacists. That's very common,
Like, is
right?
that like Insurrection Barbie? Is she one of those?
No, no,
Or
no, no, no. I mean,
uh,
I'm fairly certain that account got sold
yeah.
about a year ago and whatnot. It's funny.
Uh,
Somebody has been. A lot of times, I'll respond to things, and people will save it, and then they'll retweet my stuff, right?
mm,
And so sometimes I'll get reminded of really old tweets. And this past week, I had a video that I had responded to the Insurrection Barbie with at some point in December of 2023, and somebody, I guess there was three of them, somebody was using that, and I clicked on it to see. And I had been responding to Insurrection Barbie. She has gone back and deleted
no.
all of these posts. She used to, I believe, have over a couple 100,000 posts, and now
Wow.
it's down to 31,000. So
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Mm,
which is always interesting, right? And you can tell, number
yeah.
one, that's definitely indicative. It probably got sold. The account got sold to someone. So they don't want to be able to, they don't want people to be able to search the account for old posts and then be able to throw them back at her. So whatever it was
Yeah.
she was
Yeah.
posting. Then I've been also been kind of tracking. So I like to track bot activity. I think it's very, very interesting to see because people are paying for these bots. Very, very wealthy people with
Yeah.
very specific interests buy these bot farms. People say you should ignore the bots, but I think it's important to look at what are people spending money on, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not like it's free to operate a bot farm. So
Yeah.
that's what I like to pay attention to her. And something else I've noticed is that they are deleting posts in real time as
Huh.
well, because I've been tracking her total number of posts, because then you can also track bot activity with that. And yeah, it went at one point she was tweeting. I mean, she tweets a couple hundred times a day, and yet
Yeah.
her
So it's
overall.
probably more than one person operating the account.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. These things
Yeah.
are usually they have 10, 15 people logged in,
Uh,
right? And most of her stuff is AI written. I actually think it's AI written, like shell written, and then they go
uh,
in and fill it in to kind of make it sound more human like and whatnot.
yeah.
They it's a whole operation. When you've got 1 point something million followers, I think she's got like 1.3 million. Yeah, it's an entire operation that goes into that. And that account is worth millions and millions of dollars because of its reach, even though
Yeah.
the reach has definitely floundered because people know
Yeah.
she's not authentic. You can tell
Yeah.
eventually, you
Yeah.
know. That's why I like to
Yeah.
drop an F bomb every now and then so everybody knows it's still me, you know. And so we had Trump come out going to Gaza, I I don't know. I don't know if it's going to hold. I want it
I
to
mean,
hold,
they've
obviously.
basically said it's not going to.
It's
Have
not
has
going
didn't
to.
Netanyahu say like they're gonna just get the hostages back and then
Smotrich said that.
Smotrich? Yeah.
Yeah. And he said that again today, that he had ironclad assurances from Netanyahu that this ceasefire was not it. Trump seems like,
Says yeah.
yeah, like he's going to be pissed if it's not, but
But we saw that in January,
right.
February, and
We've
yeah.
seen all of the odds, Trump is so mad, blah, 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 same crap that happened with Biden. So who knows? Now, lastly, Candace, my girl, she's just rocking and rolling. I just love her so much. I
Yeah.
tell you what, you guys have, I have kind of a big account now. I have like 160,000 followers or something like that. It's you have to have skin, you have to have rhino skin to have 160,000 followers. Okay, like you have to be so. It is unbelievable the amount of hate that gets shot. I mean, just people just saying the meanest, cruelest things about you. I had
Yeah.
somebody post my address and a picture of my house
Yeah.
on the timeline the other day.
And pictures from your Facebook account, right? Of you and
private
your
pictures private
family, yeah.
pictures of my from my I don't even know how they got these are very old pictures. I had them locked down, so I have no idea how this person
So
even.
creepy.
Yeah,
Such a
it
creep.
is. I have my whole Facebook locked down, so I have no idea. Yeah, of
That's
course
why I've basically stayed at 150,000 followers for like 3 years because I can't take it anymore. Like so I just don't tweet that much because I can't take the constant like nastiness and negativity and harassment. So
yeah, it's intense, and it's
yeah.
so I think about me and like how I honestly, like, every day I genuinely want to say things that will absolutely get my account deleted.
Yeah.
But I don't. I just have to. And then I think about like Candace and what she's got. I think it's like 7 million followers,
Wow.
and
Yeah.
I I'm telling you, I cannot imagine. Because I see
Yeah.
some of it. There are entire accounts that are literally devoted to tearing her down. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to have, and the thing is that she still reads her comments. She still reads
Yeah.
replies to her. A lot of people, when their accounts get that big, because there's just so much hate, and like mentally you have to
Yeah.
disconnect. They just post and ghost, right? They don't ever, but
Yeah.
she doesn't. So she is so unbelievably strong. And I'm like, it's amazing that she doesn't crash out all the time,
Yeah.
because I would. There's entire accounts that are devoted to literally every single thing that she does, every single thing that she posts, picking it apart, ripping it, using it against her, using it to claim this, using it to claim that. There's this account, this fucking loser in Australia is obsessed with her. He runs this like Milk Boy accounts, like
Mm.
Milk Boy TV, and his entire account is just devoted to watching her clips, clipping her, and then using it to attack her in some way, shape, or form. Right.
Yeah.
So the Milk Boy today, he tweeted a video of Josh Hammer. And number one is just okay, it's just funny, all right? Because Josh Hammer, we got to pray for him, y'all. Okay, we have got to pray for this man. Okay, because I'll be damned if, what do you know, first thing out the back, he's like, I'm in consultation with my lawyers and I think I'm going to sue her. I think, he says, I'm a lawyer by training, and I know the Constitution, and you just can't call people these things.
What did she call him that he says he's gonna?
Subhuman filth, which is
Yeah.
exactly what he is.
That
Okay,
is
and I'm sorry.
very
Yeah.
protected speech. Sorry, Josh.
See, I knew that. I consulted with my lawyer prior.
Like, good luck with that one, bro.
Yeah.
You're allowed to call people subhuman filth.
You are,
Anything
yeah.
that's anything that could is an opinion, which that clearly is.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it's defamation is limited to like where you're intentionally misstating facts, basically. If it's a
Right.
public figure, it has to be intentional.
Right.
Like
Yes.
not
Yeah.
offering your opinion about someone's character.
Right. And so, of course he's going to say, well, it's because she was, and the thing is that Candace is very careful. She knows exactly what she's doing. Right. And she simply, retweeted or reposted one of Josh's posts in which the night before Charlie Kirk died, this is about, Twin Mama said he's at the bottom of my prayer list. Girl, I know that's right. But he was this was so we know that the night before Charlie was killed, he had a conference with Josh Hammer and Rabbi Wolicki, who is the man who runs Israel Action or Israel 365 Action, which is literally the propaganda arm of Israel 365, which is again a kind of far right, ultra orthodox NGO that is based in Israel, but it's an American NGO. How that works, let's not even get me started there. But their entire purpose is to advocate for the expansion of Israel into the annexation of the West Bank.
Mm,
Right? Obviously, that's going to be a big problem. We know that the crazies, that's what they want, and we know they're going to go
yeah,
for it, and it's going to be a huge problem, right?
yeah.
And so Rabbi Wolicki and Josh Hammer, after these text messages that Charlie Kirk put out, and he said, Jewish donors fulfill all the stereotypes, and I will not be bullied anymore, and I am done with the pro-Israel cause. So that was on September 8th. September 9th, Hammer and Wolicki have this conference call we know it happened at 6 o'clock Eastern time, because Josh Hammer released the text messages proving that. So after this conference call that was over by, I believe it was 7:54 Eastern time, at 9 o'clock on Eastern time, Josh Hammer randomly retweets this 12-year-old post from Donald Trump calling for the public execution to send a message. And he says, based, right? The very next day, about 3 hours after it was announced that Charlie Kirk was dead, Josh Hammer again just posts public execution, period. Okay. Yeah, very weird stuff. Okay. Yeah. Now people were saying, no, he was doing that because it was about that girl in Charlotte, Irina. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Bless her heart, I don't remember her last name. And that's what he was, other people were doing it too. And I'm like, okay, perhaps, maybe, perhaps. Okay. But the thing is that this clearly wasn't a big thing for him. I looked back, I looked at his entire history. He wasn't obsessing about this case. And this is a man that on that same day had actually written posts talking about Tucker Carlson. I believe it was 3 times. Had never actually written the name Irina until September 17th, so 7 days after Charlie was killed. Okay. Wow. So the idea that, I don't know, that seems like a very, very convenient cover, right?
Yeah.
And I do think it's a little weird. And then of course the very next day, and actually, no, we're allowed to speculate on that. We're allowed to speculate on why you were doing this. And no, sorry, I know Mr. Mr. Lawyer, Mr. I clerked for a federal judge.
Well, I guess he didn't learn very much.
Yeah.
Although I will say they would love to try to make this illegal if they could.
Oh, I'm sure, right? Again, which is very interesting because this is the same man who says that Europeans are born with Jew hatred in their DNA. Okay. So he's allowed to dehumanize Europeans, Americans, white people all day long.
And what has he even said about Palestinians? I can't even imagine.
Oh, you can only imagine, right?
Yeah.
And so this is just a really, but again, so and of course he's talking to Aaron Moran, who is that, again, another insane Australian. What the hell is going on down there? y'all. Okay.
Australians are kind of insane. Okay, I have a bunch of Australian friends. They're like intense people.
No, I mean, I'm like, what is going? And you know, even like Caitlin Johnstone, she's also super intense, even though I
Yeah.
like her. You know,
Yeah, but I like
on
my
the other
friends,
end,
but they're,
yeah,
yeah. And they, I mean, they had some of the most crazy laws during COVID. Like it was completely insane. You could not leave the country basically or get in.
yeah,
And
yeah.
the policing of people during the whole period, like within Australia, was crazy. I
Yeah.
believe I remember they were like showing up at people's houses and arresting them for social media posts, like saying they didn't want to wear masks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just absolutely insane stuff. So they have like a very strong safety culture. That's so I met a bunch of Australians during the lockdown period because they'd like fled to they'd actually managed to get out somehow. And we like they were living in DC and we became friends. But they
Okay.
talked about how there was like an extreme safety culture in Australia. And like that was where all this stemmed from.
Yeah. Yeah. So Michelle said they signed a peace deal without anyone from Israel or Hamas present. This is throwback. Sorry, Michelle. I just saw that. And that's what they were doing in Cairo today, which sounds about right, to be quite honest with you. It actually does sound pretty much on course. It's like everyone is sick of this, except the Israelis and the Palestinians, because of course this is their future. This is their life. I get it. Again, this is why I said no one should be involved, right? We
Yeah.
should all pull out. Okay. No money, no nothing. Um, but of course that's, you know, I know that's fantasy thinking, that's fairy tale thinking. But so yeah, so Josh Hammer was on with Aaron Moran, and he's talking about he's going to sue Candace Owens for calling him subhuman filth. And then what was his Coleman Hughes? He came out, he called Candace Owens a schizophrenic, which again I think is interesting that he would share a clip of Hammer threatening to sue Candace Owens for calling him subhuman filth and then say, I think she's a schizophrenic. It's like, you know,
Yeah.
obviously these people are so full of it. Um,
Yeah.
but I just the amount of hate that Candace receives and the fact that she just is able to brush it all off and just keep going. And she had like a hiccup over the weekend with this there was an Egyptian plane, and I've actually been tracking this plane for quite some time. She and I haven't talked about these planes at all, but I saw her posts on them and they are interesting. It is a little weird, the activity that was going around. There's two Egyptian planes that did some very weird stuff in the days prior to Charlie Kirk's murder, and then they both just flew off back to Cairo right
Hmm.
afterwards. It's weird, and I'm allowed to say
Yeah.
that that's weird, and I'm allowed to say I think that that's a little fishy. There's one
Yeah.
plane that it just parked itself May 25th, 2025, and sat there
Hmm.
for about 3 months. And then right after his death, just gets up and leaves and like it's nothing, you know?
That's weird.
So it is weird,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, but I guess she said something about the time. I guess she mixed up the time, got it wrong. And then they've just spent the last 3 days just
Mm.
dragging her over this, right? And you think, oh, okay, well, you can, and I don't want people to take this wrong way, but if you have a small account, you can just say, well, just ignore it, right? And I get that, right?
Yeah.
If you have a big account, you have
Yeah.
no idea what it's like to get
Yeah.
this like tidal wave. It doesn't stop. It literally doesn't stop. And the people, they don't just stop. It's like, it's not like you can just mute or delete a post, right?
No, no.
Because there are entire armies of people that will come into everything else that you post, right? And
Yeah.
just spam you with it nonstop. And
Yeah.
it's super intense. And she handles it with such
Yeah,
grace.
that's
Yeah.
honestly why I don't, I mean, obviously my account's not nearly as big as hers, and now you've surpassed me, but that's honestly
Oh,
why I don't tweet that much. I mean, sometimes I
yeah.
get very like some topic like really seizes me and I can't stop myself, but for the most part I find the emotional toll is just too much for me. And like I can't, I can't spend too much time on it. So I
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I don't want to get sucked in because then I'm like I've done it a few times and then I'm like I've wasted my entire day on this and I had a brief to write.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just, and I
I
don't read
know.
replies very often. So
I know. I read. I
'cause,
I try to like interact. I like interacting with cool people, and I block the hell out of everyone. You have a firm policy against you. You try not to block too much. Whereas you, I don't know. It could. I don't know. You could just catch me at a wrong time on a Tuesday and you're getting blocked. Okay, because
Well, I
I
used
don't
to,
have.
but I
Yeah,
started blocking more ever since you gave me sort of the reasons it's a good idea. It's just that I just really don't read replies very much, and I don't tweet that much because
yeah,
it's honestly just not worth it to me. It's like so much hate, and like you can say the most rational things and just
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like
It's funny. I've. It took me a long time after October 7th, especially to kind of, I don't want to say like curtail this audience. I do have people that push back. I have lots of people who disagree with me and everything, but everybody has learned to be respectful and,
yeah,
uh, and I do enjoy the pushback. And there's so much good stuff that gets put in my replies that I'm like, that
yeah,
it'll tip me off. It's crazy. I get so many good things that I never even thought of from replies, like just random
yeah,
replies, people, or they'll send me DMs and whatnot. I get a lot
yeah.
of DMs. I don't get to read all of them, but sometimes, I got threatened to be sued this morning by a
Maybe it was
pager.
Josh Hammer's alt account.
Probably because they had a pager in their name, right?
Does he?
No, but
Oh,
he
okay. I
says it
was
was
like,
the
geez.
greatest military attack of all time, blowing little kids up as they grab their father's pagers. Of course he bragged about that. Why wouldn't he? I wouldn't expect anything less from Josh Hammer on that.
Yeah,
So, well, I think that's about it. We will be back again
yeah.
this Friday, and
And we'll
hopefully,
start having guests again, I think.
yes,
We've
I know
just been busy.
I know, and
Yeah.
we're working on a couple, I think some big ones too. So we're super
Yeah.
excited about that. And yeah, that's about it. Did you have anything else?
Thanks for joining. No, I don't think so. Thanks for joining
And
us, everyone.
Janine has a really busy week, so you guys keep her in your prayers, okay? So she's working on good stuff, really important stuff. So all right,
Yeah.
we'll see you guys soon.
Thank you.
Bye.